and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching. If you aren't already subscribed, please make sure you click that subscribe button, as it is really appreciated. And also feel free to share any of my videos on any form of social media channels. I thought I'd do a video on the visit to the factory tour in Mini in Oxford and how you book that tour and also what it was all about. So I've been lucky enough to go to the factory tour before, and that was as part of my employment with Mini, as I originally worked for Mini for 7 years at various sites, but I worked for the same brand. And training wise, you did get to do some really great things, and one of them of course included going to Oxford and getting a tour of the factory. Now I went with my friend Tom and Lewis, who've both got Minis. There has been some changes, so I know since COVID they've got rid of the gift shop. So they used to have a gift shop selling Mini merchandise, very similar to the merchandise you can buy from your local Mini parts department, or you can view on the website, but of course it was there in the shop as part of the Mini factory tour experience. Now if you don't know, Mini have 3 factories in total in the UK. They have the one in the Oxford, which is the largest factory and the oldest factory of them all. They've also got Hamels Hall, which is where they produce their engines, and that's in Birmingham. And they've also got Plant Swindon, which is where a lot of the assembly components are made and where the body panels are made as well. Tours only run Monday to Friday, because of course that is their working week at the factory. So at the Mini factory in Oxford, they build the F56, which includes the Mini electric model, which they did mention they are going to go build elsewhere. And then 5-door, which is the F55, and then the Mini Clubman, which is the F54. They did mention when we were there that they are due to bring the convertible back to start building that in the UK. How true that is or not, I don't know. But currently they are built overseas, the convertible, so that would be interesting if they brought that back and started building that in the UK. Now to book a tour, you can simply just Google Mini Factory Oxford Tour and go online and book a ticket that way. If you currently work for Mini or BMW, then you do get a discount on the tickets. Now it's £21 per person, which I feel is more than reasonable. It's around about a 2-hour experience in total. We went for the midday slot. The reason we did that is just due to travelling there and back. Would recommend probably going for the midday slot or probably first thing. If you go a little bit later, you probably get stuck in even more rush hour traffic than we did, depending of course on where you live. So when you arrive at the factory, you park anywhere in the car park. So if you're going to bring an electric car, you probably might have to charge it somewhere else. So there's signage as you go into the area where the tour commences. Of course, I've been there before, so we kind of knew where we were going. The only thing the lads were a bit worried about is parking their cars, as the sign it's saying there's a limit on the time you can park there. But they went into security and they just said that as you're going on the tour, it doesn't really matter. Hi, we've just arrived at the factory now. So we've cameras and stuff, you can't take them actually inside the factory. So as tour is booked at 12:55, so it means we'll have to meet at the meeting point at 12:40, but you do get all them details on your ticket. So when you go in, you just say that you're going for a tour, you have your tickets at the ready, and then they'll scan them. They then let you know that you can go have a look around the museum. Don't worry if you are running a little bit late and you don't get a chance beforehand and you've only just arrived on time for your tour, as you will get a chance at the end. But if you are going around the museum, they then call you when you're ready. They normally shout the time out to let you know that they're ready to commence the tour. So of course you can't film, no cameras are allowed, phones aren't allowed in the factory. They say that's due to Bluetooth interference. But I suppose it's a couple of things. I suppose it's health and safety, because when you are walking around the factory, they do ask you to keep within the yellow line. So your tour guide will collect you, as was a lady that had worked in the factory previously. So she'd retired and then she'd come out of retirement to do some tours for the factory. She said her dad worked there before and her granddad, so it was almost like a family thing. They'd all worked there, so one of each generation. So what they'll do is they'll gather you in the area. You have to put a high vis jacket on, but it's not high vis, it's like green or pink, I think they do. And then they'll get you to put some goggles on. The reason for that is when you go into the machinery section, there's areas where they're doing spot welds and there are sparks flying off, so that's just to protect your eyes. And they do different goggles. They do a set for people that have got glasses, and then people that of course haven't got glasses, just because they sit a bit further back on your face. So then they give you almost like a headphone set, just for one ear, so you clip it over your ear, it goes in here, and then you can adjust the volume, and they'll check that of course you're on the same channel, and that is how you can hear the tour guide during the tour. As I haven't got any footage within the factory, I thought while I'm telling you about the factory tour, I'd share some footage from the museum. So of course, once you've got your headphones set on, you've got your goggles on, you've got your jacket on, they do show you some safety videos. One of them is all about BMW wanting to be green and preserve the planet, and how the factory helps to do that. So with the factory in Oxford, they've actually got solar panels on the roof, and I think they're one of the largest solar panel farms in the UK. So what that does is generate a lot of energy back into the plant. And then also they store water as well, and they use that within the plant as well. So the rain water on the roof, they use that within the plant. So they are really about recycling and being as green as possible. And then the second video they show you is all about health and safety. So wearing your goggles during the area where all the robots are working, doing the spot welds. And then also making sure that you stay within the yellow lines. The tour does normally take about 1 hour and 40 minutes, around about 2 hours, maybe a little bit longer once you've gone into the museum and had a look around there. So what you'll do next is you'll get on the minibus and you'll go over to the Body in White, which is the body shop area where all the vehicles are put together. Now in this section you won't really see many people at all, so at first you think, God, is everything done by robots? But when you go in, they'll show you the different sections, and there's certain sections where people are working, so they'll stock up the parts, and their job is purely to make sure the parts and everything are working as they should. And then some areas you'll see people can't go into, the computers or the robots run purely on their own. And then only, for example, the mechanics would be able to go in if they needed to repair them. And it's quite interesting watching all the robots work in place. Things like when they're doing the spot welds, they'll have machines that have got cameras on that actually inspect them to make sure they're exactly in the place that they should be. And they work down to like a very, very measurement when it comes to drilling the holes and the spot welds. So with that, you'll see a mix of different models put together. And it's quite interesting as well because the machines actually know which model it is that they're putting together, so they know the different placements and how to put the different body panels together. Go around this section, of course you don't see the whole of the factory at this point, you just see them certain sections that they show you. I think that's just for ease really, to not make the tour too long-winded. And also to avoid the maximum amount of disruption to the factory. So really interesting. So when you come out of there, you can't go into the paint shop, and the reason for that is obviously it's a sanitised area. They have to obviously get the best finish on the vehicles possible, and if people are coming and going, then it wouldn't be great for the paint and the finish on the vehicles. So when you come out of the area with the robots, Before you go into the assembly line, they'll tell you a bit about the paint shop, so you have a look at the colours that are available. They'll tell you about the ostrich feathers. It's not just Mini that use, other manufacturers use that as well. And they'll tell you about how long it takes to paint the vehicle. And then they'll tell you how long it takes to have a two-tone finish. So of course that tends to be what most people with Minis tend to opt for. And then they'll give you the chance to ask questions within the group, and then once everyone's done answering their questions, you'll then get on the minibus and you'll go to the assembly area. Now once you're in the assembly area, again, you'll group around a car just in the entrance. I remember when I went to the Mini factory tour, when we were doing it as we worked for Mini UK, there was a car there that we could write on. I don't know where that car's gone, but of course that wasn't there anymore. There was a Mini electric there. They just told us some facts about the Mini electric. Useful and really interesting, some of the little tidbits of facts and knowledge that tour guide let you know throughout the walk around the factory. So now you head into the assembly line, and now this is full of people, so there isn't as many robots in this section. It is mainly just people. So it is quite a strong contrast between being on the first body in white and compared to the assembly line, which I think is really great to see, because I know a lot of people worry about manufacturing in the UK and when that's headed with regards to people's employment and jobs. So you head in, obviously follow the yellow lines, run to avoid the bots that are the almost like scooter kind of systems that steer themselves, that follow the black lines. And then if you step out in front of them, they do show you this on the tour, they will actually stop and beep at you really loud to tell you that of course you are in their way. They just deliver parts throughout the assembly line there, and they also have people on scooters as well, and they have certain areas that they call the supermarket, and they just have to keep them regularly stocked as well, because obviously that's where they get all the parts from. They're like, oh, there's loads of different combinations you'll see, oh, there's so many Mini combinations, you won't see any Minis next to each other that are the same. No, I know of course that's not true, because I've worked for Mini, and there's a lot of people that went for the same combinations or like the same things because they did look good. So for example, a lot of people had pepper white with 6-inch Victory spokes and a chili pack, and this is talking of course years ago, which is when the chili pack gave you 16s rather than 17s, and obviously they don't even do a chili pack now. But anyway, I will start talking about it. So what was interesting is they mentioned part shortages about the Ukraine and the wiring harnesses, and they said other than the original 2-week part shortage that they haven't really had a massive affection on part shortages since then. But as we were walking around, we were probably about halfway through the assembly line section. The alarm went off to tell people that obviously it was time to change shifts. And then he went, oh, this is a bit unusual, because she worked in the factory before, because she said normally the person who's due to change shifts with, like the shift changeover, stands behind the person who they're due to take over, and then they swap over to obviously not affect the production. Everyone goes on their lunch at the same time. So for example, if someone wants to take a break, they have people that can do everybody's jobs. So for example, if the manager who's in charge of that section isn't available, because normally they take over if someone wants to take a break, but then there are people that can do everybody's jobs. So obviously we just thought people were swapping over, so normally they'd stand behind the person they were going to swap with, and then they just swap. So the alarm went off, and then of course everyone just started packing up and going home. So the tour guide was like, what is going on here? So she managed to collar someone that she asked them, and they said they were going home because of part short. So then it was quite strange, because we were walking around the factory and the lights started shutting down, so on the sensors. So as you walk around, the lights obviously came back up again, but it was quite strange. We went from like this really, really busy production line to then it was completely dead. Like literally within minutes, everyone had packed up and started to go home. But it was really fun when you went to the factory. You saw everybody putting the cars together. So the cars go up and down, so they're on a platform that goes up and down. So it depends on what they were fitting. So if they're fitting something in the boot, obviously the car comes up. Then if they're fitting something lower down, the car will go down, because some people have stalls that they personalise. Then these people are trained, I think, to do about 4 jobs in total, so then you can swap and change. So you're not doing the same thing just repetitively. So people putting the components into the interior. All the interiors go above the car's head, so you see the seats come through, and also you see the doors as well. They follow the car through, so they're fitted right at the end. So the seats come down, you see the different interiors above your head. You see things like the sunroof that's fitted. You can see like the labelling for different tints, so the different glasses are fitted, heated windscreens, things like that, so they have different sections. So I'm a really big Mini lover myself, so it was really, really interesting for myself. Of course, I've been before, so even though I've been with Mini before, and of course I worked with Mini for 7 years, I've got an R53, I've got an F56, I've had an F56 before, I've had an R56, I've had Minis in the family, my partner's got a classic Mini, so really, really big on Minis. But even with that, I find it really, really interesting, all the new factory. And there were some things obviously have changed since I last visited a good few years ago, because obviously they stopped the tours during. I would definitely recommend it to anyone that really likes their Minis, or is just generally interested in how manufacturing works, because not many manufacturers actually manufacture their cars within the UK and allow you to go and see the production of them and see how that takes place. So that was really, really interesting. So once you're done on the assembly line, a bit more in the assembly line, so you'll go like up and down, so you'll see like the wheels, you'll see like the brakes, you'll see the interiors, you'll see like the electrics and everything like that, all the dash and stuff going in. And then you get to the end and you'll see the cars pretty much in place, and they'll check like the lights, they'll check all the functions of the vehicle are working, like the indicators, on there, and then it'll go over the finish line and it'll go into the quality control section, where it'll be checked by the people that are in charge of quality control. And apparently they're really, 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 as you'd expect, really, really strict. Also do to help with future production and also warranty issues, is they have drivers that drive as many miles as they can, as quick as they can. So by that I mean put as many miles on as they can in the shortest amount of time possible. So for example, they drive all the way to the top of Scotland and then come back again. And the reason they do that is just to foresee issues with certain parts and running components of the vehicle, to obviously foresee that and then reduce the impact of that, of course, in future production. So then you head back out to the minibus, head back in to the entrance where you came from and the area where you sat down before. They'll just ask if you've got any questions, anyone else has got anything else they want to ask. And then what they'll then do is ask you if you want to go have a look around the museum. So I'll have a chat about the museum in a moment. Of course, that does change. They do tend to chop and change some of the cars, mainly the newer ones, because there's some quite new ones in there. So you tend to chop and change them. I also mentioned about leaving a TripAdvisor review. So you can, of course, head over to TripAdvisor and see what other people's reviews on the factory tour was. But I would definitely recommend it, and I would absolutely love to go again. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please make sure you subscribe to my channel to keep an eye on future videos. Thank you so much.